Maya's heart pounded as she pushed open the glass doors of the corporate building, her little daughter clinging weakly to her shoulder. She hadn't planned to bring Lily to work, but the babysitter canceled last minute, and her feverish child couldn't be left alone. The office buzzed with whispers as Maya, the single mom everyone knew for her relentless work ethic, walked past cubicles with a pale child in her arms. She kept her eyes down, praying her boss wouldn't notice. Today was important. The new CEO was visiting for the first time. She reached her desk, set Lily on a chair, and tried to distract her with crayons. But just as Maya opened her laptop, a shadow fell across her. She froze. It was him. The new CEO. Tall, confident, but strangely still, his eyes locked on Lily. Before Maya could explain, Lily lifted her head, blinked through watery eyes, and whispered a single word that shattered the silence. "Daddy?" The entire floor seemed to hold its breath. The CEO's face went pale, his jaw tightening as if the world had stopped moving. He took a shaky step forward, his voice almost breaking. "Maya, why is she calling me that?" Maya's throat closed, her hands trembling as memories she had tried to bury rushed back. She never expected this moment, never wanted it. But fate had placed them face to face again. And now, the truth could no longer stay hidden. Maya's knees nearly buckled under the weight of his question. She hadn't seen Daniel in nearly 7 years, not since the night he left town, chasing a career overseas and leaving her heart in pieces. Back then, she discovered she was pregnant only days after he vanished. She wrote letters, tried calling, but he never responded. Eventually, she stopped hoping. Now here he was, back as the new CEO of the very company she worked at, staring at the little girl who had just called him daddy. "Maya," Daniel whispered again, his voice tight, "is she mine?" Lily coughed softly, reaching out her tiny hand toward him. Maya instinctively pulled her daughter close, torn between anger and fear. "You don't get to walk in after all these years and demand answers," she said, her voice trembling. Employees nearby pretended to work, but their ears strained for every word. The tension was unbearable. Daniel's expression cracked, his confident CEO mask falling away. He crouched down, his eyes level with Lily's. "Sweetheart," he said softly, "what's your name?" "Lily," she whispered. He inhaled sharply, tears welling. "Just like your grandmother." His voice broke. Maya's chest tightened. He remembered. Despite everything, he remembered the name they once chose late at night when love still seemed eternal. But before she could say more, Lily leaned against him, her small fingers gripping his sleeve. It was as if her heart already knew the truth Maya had tried so hard to protect. Daniel looked up at Maya, his face wet with tears. "Please, let me be in her life. Even if you never forgive me, don't shut me out of hers." Maya's walls trembled, and for the first time in years, hope flickered. Maya's arms tightened protectively around Lily. The sight of Daniel's tears stirred something deep within her, but old wounds bled fresh at the same time. Trust was not something she could hand over easily, not after years of silence. "You don't understand," Maya whispered, her voice sharp but fragile. "I begged for your help when I found out I was pregnant. I wrote, I called, you disappeared." Daniel's face twisted with shock. "I never got anything, Maya. I swear. My father, he controlled everything back then. He didn't approve of us. I thought you moved on. I thought you wanted nothing to do with me." Maya shook her head, anger mixing with sorrow. "So you just assumed? While I raised our daughter alone, working double shifts, holding her hand through every fever, every nightmare, you were out there building your empire." The words cut through him like glass. Daniel stepped closer, his voice trembling. "If I had known, Maya, I would have been here. I would have never left you." For a moment, silence hung heavy. Lily, oblivious to the storm, rested her head on Daniel's shoulder as if she had known him her entire life. The innocence in her trust contrasted painfully with Maya's hardened heart. "I can't let you break her," Maya said firmly, blinking back tears. "She deserves stability. Not someone who might disappear again." Daniel swallowed hard. "Then let me prove myself. I don't want to replace you, Maya. I just want to be the father she deserves. Give me a chance." Maya searched his eyes, torn between the scars of the past and the possibility of a future she never dared imagine. And in that fragile moment, her heart whispered a question her mind wasn't ready to answer: what if he's telling the truth? The days that followed were a blur of tension and cautious distance. Maya kept her focus on work, trying to avoid Daniel whenever possible. But it wasn't easy. He was everywhere, from board meetings to casual hallway encounters. And every time she saw him, his eyes followed Lily with a tenderness that couldn't be faked. One afternoon, Maya returned to her desk after a long meeting and found a small box on Lily's chair. Inside was a set of watercolor paints, Lily's favorite pastime. A note in Daniel's handwriting read, "For the little artist. From Dad, if she'll let me be that." Maya's chest tightened. She wanted to be angry, to reject the gesture, but Lily's delighted smile melted her resolve. That evening, Daniel sat quietly on the floor of Maya's small apartment, painting flowers with Lily while Maya watched from the kitchen. His expensive suit jacket was tossed carelessly over a chair, his sleeves rolled up, his laughter echoing in the room. For the first time in years, Lily's giggles filled the home with warmth. After Lily fell asleep, Maya pulled Daniel aside. "Don't do this unless you mean it," she warned. "She's fragile. She's been through enough." Daniel's gaze was steady. "I mean every second, Maya. I can't change the past, but I can fight for the future. Let me earn your trust, not with words, but with actions." Maya studied him, the sincerity in his voice battling against the doubts in her mind. For years, she had carried the burden alone. But now, could she dare to believe he had truly come back, not as the man who left, but as the father Lily had always deserved? A week later, Lily's fever spiked again. Panic gripped Maya as she rushed her to the hospital, her hands trembling on the steering wheel. She barely noticed Daniel's car pulling in behind hers until he was suddenly at her side, lifting Lily gently into his arms. "I've got her," he whispered. His voice was steady, but his eyes betrayed the fear of a man terrified of losing what he had just found. Through the long night, Daniel never left Lily's bedside. He read stories, wiped her forehead, and held her tiny hand as monitors beeped softly in the background. Maya sat across from him, watching as exhaustion lined his face, but he refused to sleep. This wasn't the man who had left her years ago. This was someone who had grown, who was willing to put everything aside for their child. When dawn finally broke and Lily's fever eased, Maya felt tears spill down her cheeks. She whispered, almost to herself, "She needs you." Daniel looked up, his own tears falling freely. "And I need her. I need both of you." For the first time in years, Maya's heart softened. She reached across the hospital bed and took his hand, the weight of forgiveness heavy but liberating. Lily stirred, blinking sleepily at them both. "Mommy. Daddy's here," she murmured with a weak smile. Maya and Daniel exchanged a glance, one that carried pain, regret, but also hope. In that fragile hospital room, a broken family found the courage to heal. And as sunlight streamed through the window, Maya realized that sometimes the past didn't have to define them. Sometimes, second chances could write an entirely new story. This was theirs. A story of love, forgiveness, and a family finally complete.